Welcome to Catholic Mom Mindset, a daily show where you learn to walk closely with the Holy Spirit so you can live the life God is calling you to. I'm your host, Sterling Jaquith. Let us begin. Welcome back. Today I want to talk about how to have a bad day well. Because we know you don't get to however many days old you are and still think all the days are going to be good. But we never plan for bad days. Isn't that interesting? So we know we're going to have them. We don't plan for them. And when you listen to this podcast, you're going to realize I'm really into planning. I'm really into having protocols for things. Like, hey, what are we going to do on a bad day? We could just decide that ahead of time. I've talked about having a headache. I've talked about being tired. I think I've talked about pregnancy things, but I'm not sure. But let's just say you're having a bad day. Whatever that means. Maybe you're grumpy. Maybe things are going wrong. And then, of course, what we know about having a terrible, no good, very bad day is that it always compounds. Like something goes poorly. And then because we are frustrated, we don't show up well in our lives. And then more things go poorly. So that's pretty common. So usually the first thing that happened, like having a flat tire or a baby blowout in public or whatever it is, like the first thing is usually totally out of our control. But then often the subsequent bad things are often because of us, because we're grumpy, because we're having a bad day. Not everything. Sometimes life just brings you a couple surprising bad things in a row. But I want you to ask yourself right now, if you knew you were going to have a bad day 3 days from now, nobody was going to die. It was going to be terrible. It was just going to be things like flat tires and being late and baby poop and things like that. Something breaking. I had a friend recently whose computer just died. How do you want to have that bad day? What do you want to do? How are you going to take care of yourself? What do you want to think about? And that's one of the biggest areas for me that made such a huge difference is I used to have a bad moment or a series of moments and then a bad day. And then while I was having that day, I would make it mean I had a bad life. And sometimes I'd be like, maybe it'll be better in 10 years, but that still feels like a bad life. Right? And so now when we're thinking about things like that, like this will always be like this is always terrible, I'm never going to be happy, and we're chewing on it, it's just leaking so much energy. I wish we could see it. I wish it had like a color when it came out of us so you could be like, oh, well, I'm spending a lot of my energy on this right now. How do you want to have a bad day? What do you want to tell yourself? I tell myself things now like, hey, you're just in a grumpy mood right now. We're not going to make any life decisions. We're not even really going to think about our life right now. I'll catch you in a couple hours or maybe tomorrow. I may not always have the tool. I have the tools, but I may not always use the tools to stop being grumpy or frustrated or chewing on my bad day. But I just don't let it mean anything about my life or me as a mom or me as a person or a wife or a Catholic. I'm just like, oh yeah, today's a bad day. Doesn't mean anything about who I am. So I want you to just catch yourself. Catch yourself when you're grumpy and be like, oh, I'm having a bad day. And Sterling's totally right. And I didn't make a plan about my bad day. So now it's just kind of running the day. And then I want you to make a plan. I want you to write down on a piece of paper, bad day protocol at the top. What are you going to eat? What do you want to tell yourself? What thoughts, when they come up, will you say no to? Stop. Hey, brain, we're not doing that today. Your brain is like a toddler with a knife. It just runs around unsupervised doing crazy stuff that isn't helpful. You have to tell it what to do. If you don't, you're going to be unhappy. And I really like the word peace more than happiness. You're going to lack peace. And I know that's what you want, because it's what we all want. We all want more peace. So, how are you going to have a bad day? Plan it now when you're not having a bad day. And plan most specifically what you want to think, what you're going to tell yourself. Like, hey, I love you. It's a bad day. It's no big deal. We can handle bad days. They usually only last one day. Right? What you're not going to think, have a do not think list. And then I'd love you to put a list of ideas to ask for help. Did you know that we Catholic moms are pretty bad about asking for help? Yeah. Who could you ask for help? What help would be meaningful to you on a bad day? Just generate some ideas while you're in a good mood. It's a lot easier to think of things when we're not having the bad day. And then just tape that piece of paper on an inside pantry door or kitchen door or bathroom mirror door or something. Just put it somewhere so that when you're having a bad day, you're like, oh, this isn't a problem. I have a plan for this. And then it makes bad days not as bad. All right, you guys, thanks so much for listening and have a blessed day. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Catholic Mom Mindset. To learn more about growing closer to the Holy Spirit, check out our free resources at madeforgreatness.co. Thank you so much for listening and have a blessed day.